Did the Sixers make a mistake firing Doc?
I think so. I think that this was a knee-jerk reaction that was not well thought out, candidly. And if the conversation, guys, is keeping both Harden happy and Embiid happy and understanding that you might not be able to keep Harden, like, I think you got to let a little bit more unfold before you make the decision to let Doc go, because it sounds as if that still is not a guarantee that you're going to be able to keep James Harden. And earlier, Hahn, we were talking, and the idea that the model would shift to be building around what makes James happy over Joel unhappy is something that does not sit well in my soul right now. And I think if Joel Embiid liked Doc Rivers, and I get it, the playoff appearances the last 3 seasons have been disappointing, and this year you come up short. But I know we're not playing horseshoes, but this year felt like the closest and the most complete that this team was in terms of the opportunity to get over the proverbial hump. And so letting go of Doc to me felt very knee-jerk, and it doesn't necessarily guarantee that Harden is staying. So I think that this was a poor decision on behalf of the Sixers.
I mean, after James Harden's postgame, where he was pretty ice cold in his response to how he and Doc Rivers, how their relationship is, you had this feeling that it was going to be one or the other. And as we've talked, we know in the NBA, it's so much easier to replace a coach, especially when you have some names out there like Monty Williams, like, obviously Mike Budenholzer. You have some guys who have experience. Mike D'Antoni's still out there, as we know. I mean, that's all part of the Houston setup that they have with James Harden and Daryl Morey. So there's options that you could go to and you can feel pretty good about to make that change. You can't really move on from James Harden and replace his production and say, well, we'll be fine or we'll stay championship contending teams if we let him walk, because you don't really have the ability to go out and get somebody of that level. Can you get Damian Lillard? Well, he's not available, so you don't know if you can get him. Who else in the league? You're going to get Kyrie? Like, who are you getting? Chris Paul? So there's a lot of questions that you have to ask about that, and you had to make a decision between one or the other because clearly they weren't going to coexist. And so the easy move was to move on from Doc Rivers. But the fact that they didn't talk to Joel Embiid before making this decision and did it after, that is alarming to me, because that kind of that leads me to wonder, are you changing how you feel about Joel Embiid?
This is crazy. Huh?
Are you does that kind of give me a peek behind the curtain of how you really feel about an MVP who is supposed to be your franchise player? Your franchise player, you probably will go to and ask them, what do you think? Or we want to do this. How would you react to this? They didn't do any of that. And all Daryl Morey said was, we've got to convince him whoever we hire next is the right move. There's no convincing that. Once you've already told the franchise player that we're going to do a move without you involved in it, you just told the franchise player, you're not our franchise player.
Oh, boy.
Woo! I don't believe firing Doc was the wrong move. I think it was the right move. Nor do I believe what Daryl Morey said at the post presser. I think he was providing cover for his superstar player. I don't think there's any way in the world that we've all known to be around player involvement, player, what's the word I'm looking for as it relates to, players actually becoming bigger than the franchise and players having their voices heard. Empowerment. Yeah. Thank you for the word. Only been on air for 7 hours. I'll figure it out.
You got it.
Thank you. Good teammate. Player empowerment. I don't think there's a world that exists in which you can actually make that decision without Joel Embiid's input. Now, I'm not saying you need to listen to Joel Embiid's input if he disagrees, but there's no world that you couldn't sit down with your star player and say, what do you think about everything that's occurred?
Why are you providing cover? Because it's a worse optic to say that.
No, why? Because he owns it. No, it's not. Because he owns it. It's on Daryl Morey now. It's not on Joel Embiid. Joel Embiid is not the person that the media is in saying, you got him out. It's Daryl Morey saying, no, I'm making these decisions.
Jay,
this is on me.
Jay, let's take a temperature in Philadelphia right now. Because James Harden already is under fire, right? But Doc Rivers has been on thin ice all year. So this is a popular decision. This isn't one that I have to protect my star because people are going to be shocked that we fired Doc Rivers. No one's shocked. They were talking about this at the start of the season. They were talking about it after last season. Is Doc really the right guy? So there's no cover you needed to provide. This was a move that when it was announced, everybody in Philadelphia, some people were like, ding dong, the witch is dead. And other people were like, yeah, saw this coming. It wasn't shocking.
Do you think Joel Embiid likes direct conflict?
Thank you, Jay.
You think he likes,
yeah.
I mean, even on the back end, like the slight Giannis jab that he had.
I think this is way worse.
Like, did he?
This is way worse.
No, I'm telling you, like, if you just watch his tendencies, he doesn't like, he's like, all right, I'll give you an example. If you like direct conflict, if you want to call people out, I would be like, yo, Doc Rivers should have given me the ball at 3 minutes and 56 seconds left to go in the game. Call it out.
Yep.
He didn't call it out.
Yeah,
it was passive aggressive, right?
Right?
So, like, just look at those similar traits as it relates to Joel Embiid. So now you have your GM that's saying, don't worry about it. I'm going to fall on the sword. This is my decision at the end of the day. It's my decision. I'm making that decision. But also know the other factors that go into this decision. You have a marriage that has already existed here between James Harden and Daryl Morey for a very long time, okay?
Right.
So now you're seeing the influence of that marriage being like, do we really think James Harden? Let's think about it. And if he does, that's what he wants to do. You really think James Harden wants to go back to Houston?
I'm with you.
Okay.
Huh?
Like, now, and I heard him float out, well, not him, but like people were leaking, he can go to Phoenix. Do you know how bad Phoenix's cap situation is? What James Jones has to go through? Like, they can't really afford to make that move.
No.
Like, this is all leverage and this is all play that's aiming back towards James Harden being right there back in Philly, right with Joel Embiid. At the end of the day, I just feel like this is Daryl Morey providing cover. And the last thing I'll just say about Doc Rivers, because I love Doc Rivers as a person.
Yeah.
You start looking at 16-33 when they have 3 wins in a 7-game series, okay? He's blown 3 3-1 leads. By the way, in the history of the NBA playoffs, a team has come back from a 3-1 series deficit only 13 times. So just take 3 of those times out. So only 10 times when Doc Rivers is not coaching. Like, that's mind-boggling. 4 3-2 leads he's blown. This one, and 1 2-0 lead. Like, he's lost Game 7s at home 4 times.
You may have all the speculation you want, but what has been put out there publicly is that it's Morey's decision. So Joel gets to go on and proceed.
If I'm a Sixers fan, I want to know that Joel Embiid is taking the franchise and saying, we're going to win a championship. We got to be better.
So fire the coach? So that's what.
Yeah, we got to do better.
I don't buy that.
I didn't get the ball in the fourth. We got to be better. I would feel more confident in that kind of a personality than one that needs to be protected.
But you want Joel Embiid to be somebody he's not. Did you hear him when? Like, think about his answer when he was asked about what happened in the game, like where he shrunk, right? He was like, well, you know, the first thing he said, and he got killed on social media about it because all you heard was like, well, James and me can't do it by myself. Right. But the first thing he said, though, was like, I have to be better. There's accountability on me, right? And then he just started veering off. Where it's like, well, James and I can't do it, you know, by ourselves, and it's a team effort. And you saw him like trying, but it's not like a very authoritative, demonstrative, like, this is the way it is, and this is what I want. Yeah. So that's what Daryl Morey's being for him.
Yeah.
He's the last passive player to win a championship.
Don't do that, Hahn. Don't do that.
Oh, no, I'm just asking. It's an innocent question. We love Mamba mentality. Kobe Bryant. We love that stuff. It has been celebrated, right? Players in this generation celebrate that. How do you describe
stuff? I want to know your connotation on passive.
Steph Curry?
I want to know your connotation on passive. Because I don't hear Steph Curry coming to the podium crushing his teammates. He never came down on Jordan Poole.
I'm sorry. Does he ever not take accountability, though?
I didn't say that.
Does he ever not take accountability?
Joel Embiid
in the moment, does Steph Curry make sure that he is present? In the moment when you have to win, when it's winning time.
Okay.
And the one time he was criticized was when he let Kevin Love guard him in a game where he should have blown past him, coming off injury, all that stuff. That's the one time he was criticized.
Agree with you 100%
but
on the court.
when it is winning time, Steph Curry is a dog.
So now you are correlating.
Joel Embiid doesn't show you that he's a dog.
Okay.
It takes dogs to win championships.
So you're correlating a passive post game, and maybe there is some correlation there because the
passive fourth quarter. A passive game 7. I mean, those are important games.
Okay, if that's the direct correlation.
I think it's
I don't know that that's necessarily fair.
It's a fair question to ask without me being the bad guy of asking something about somebody that might be passive. It's just when you're trying to win a championship as a franchise, that is an important element to have on your team. You need to have somebody that is willing to go in the locker room himself as a player and shake it up. To be the guy that said, follow me, I'm dragging us to the finish line.
All I'm saying is that the demonstration at the podium is not necessarily the thermometer of that. Now, we can point to Game 6 and Game 7, sure. And in this particular instance, there's plenty of correlation. But I don't think the podium is necessarily the identifying quality of that as a person. And you're assuming that he asked Morey to take this hit for him. Morey may have just done this.
Well, again, that's Jay's side of the story. The one that I believe.
That's my interpretation of the situation. I will say this though, your best player doesn't always need to be your leader.
That part.
Yeah.
Okay, so I think we live in this world now where it's like, oh, you're the star player. That means you have to be D, all the above,
Right.
to suit all my needs to what a Kobe Bryant is. Like, I still think Joel Embiid could win a championship. I think the pieces that you surround Joel Embiid
So he needs
with,
another leader. He needs a leader.
Yes.
And it's not, so is that James Harden?
Okay, I got what you're saying.
Thanks for watching ESPN on YouTube. For live streaming, sports, and premium content, subscribe to ESPN+.